My wedding night should have been the beginning of forever. Instead, it became the night I learned exactly what kind of people I'd trusted most in the world. My name is Magnus Harris, and I'm 33 years old. I grew up believing family loyalty was sacred, something you could count on when everything else fell apart. My older brother Drew had been my hero, my protector, the guy I'd have taken a bullet for without hesitation. That belief died at midnight in a darkened hallway when I heard my new wife Angelica moaning in ecstasy from Drew's bedroom. Some men would have walked away quietly, would have accepted the betrayal, swallowed the pain, tried to heal through forgiveness and grace. I wasn't one of those men. I made a choice that night, deliberate, cold, final. I would use every legal weapon available, every family connection, every ounce of determination to ensure they both faced devastating consequences. Not just for that night, but for the 6 months they'd been betraying me while I planned our future. Revenge isn't cruelty when the punishment fits the crime. It's justice. It's refusing to be the victim they expected me to be. By the end of this, you'll understand why some betrayals deserve nothing less than complete destruction. But let me start from the beginning. Before I go any further, let me know in the comments where in the world you are watching from, and make sure to subscribe because tomorrow I will share a story you don't want to miss. The reception hall had that hollowed-out feeling venues get when the party's over. 11 p.m. and the last guests were trickling toward the exits, calling out final congratulations. I stood near the doorway, tie loosened, jacket slung over one arm, watching Angelica say goodbye to her bridesmaids. She looked stunning even after hours of dancing, makeup still perfect, that white dress catching the dim lights like she'd stepped out of a dream. She crossed to me, wrapped her arms around my neck, kissed me slow. "I'm exhausted," she murmured against my lips. "I'm heading up to bed." "I'll be up soon," I said. "Just gonna have one last drink with Dad." She kissed me again, softer this time. "Don't keep me waiting too long, husband." I watched her head toward the stairs. My parents' house was massive, plenty of guest rooms for family staying overnight, and felt that warm glow you get when everything's finally fallen into place. 30 minutes later, I was in the living room with my father and my cousin Steve, nursing whiskey and rehashing the highlights. Dad kept clapping my shoulder, grinning like he'd won the lottery. 45 grand well spent, he said, raising his glass. "Your mother and I covered 10. Angelica's parents kicked in another 10, but you shouldered the lion's share, son. That's a man who knows how to treat his bride right." "She deserved it," I said, and I meant it. Senior project manager salary had its perks. $120K a year meant I could give her the fairy tale wedding she'd always wanted. Steve laughed. "Drew was so drunk during the toast I thought he might fall over. Guy can't handle champagne." "He'll sleep it off upstairs," I said. My brother had been my best man, and yeah, he'd overindulged. Too drunk to drive home safely, so he'd crashed in one of the guest rooms. We talked until midnight. Finally, I stood, shook hands with Steve, hugged my father. Time to start the honeymoon. Dad grinned. "Get out of here." I climbed the stairs, the house quiet now except for distant sounds of people settling in for the night. The hallway was dark, except for a small nightlight near the bathroom. I moved toward our designated bedroom, already thinking about Angelica waiting for me. Then I heard it. A woman's moan, low, breathy, coming from the wrong direction. I stopped cold. It came again, unmistakable, from Drew's room, not mine. My pulse hammered in my ears. I took a step toward Drew's door, and that's when I heard his voice, urgent and rough. God, I've wanted this for so long. Everything inside me turned to ice. Then Angelica's voice, panting. "We can't keep doing this, but it feels so good. Keep doing this." The words detonated in my brain. Not a first-time drunken mistake. This had been happening. I didn't knock, didn't hesitate. I slammed that door open so hard it crashed against the wall, and there they were, my wife of 6 hours and my brother, naked in his bed, scrambling apart like guilty teenagers caught in the act. Angelica screamed, grabbing for the sheets. Drew jumped up, hands raised, mouth opening. "Don't," I said, and my voice came out like gravel. "Don't you dare say a fucking word." "Magnus, oh my God," Angelica started. "How long?" I demanded, looking between them. My hands were shaking. "How long?" Drew found his voice first, that salesman's charm trying to activate even now. "Man, listen, we're drunk. This is just... You're gonna lie to me?" I took a step into the room. After I just heard her say you can't keep doing this? You're going to insult me by lying right to my face? Angelica was crying now, mascara running, clutching the sheet to her chest. Magnus, please, I love you. You love me? I laughed, and it sounded unhinged even to my own ears. You love me so much you fucked my brother on our wedding night? How long, Angelica? Tell me right now, or I swear to God. 6 months, Drew said quietly. It's been 6 months. The number hit me like a physical blow. 6 months. That meant it started right around our engagement. While I was planning our future, picking out her ring, touring venues, she'd been sleeping with my brother. 6 months, I repeated. My hands were shaking harder now. Through the engagement, through wedding planning, through every time you told me you loved me, every time we talked about our future and our children, it was a mistake, Angelica sobbed. I was confused. Confused for 6 months? I moved closer. You know what? This marriage is over. We're getting it annulled tomorrow. Magnus, don't be dramatic, Drew said, pulling on his pants. Let's talk about this like adults. Like adults? I was in his face now. You want to talk like adults? Fine. You're dead to me. As of right now, you're not my brother. You're nothing. Drew's face hardened. You're overreacting. People make mistakes. Mistakes? I grabbed his shirt. Mistakes are forgetting an anniversary. This is a choice you made every single day for half a year. What are you going to do? Angelica whispered. I looked at her with pure contempt. I'm going to tell everyone at that wedding exactly what kind of people you both are, and then I'm going to destroy you both legally and financially for what you've done. I turned and walked out, leaving them scrambling behind me, straight to my parents' bedroom. I knocked hard. My father answered groggy. Magnus, what's wrong? We need to talk, right now. Both of you. 5 minutes later, my parents sat on their bed in robes while I stood before them, shaking with rage, and told them everything. My mother started crying immediately. My father's face went from confusion to shock to a fury I'd never seen before. They're still in Drew's room, I finished. My father stood, jaw set. Stay here with your mother. He left, and I heard his footsteps thunder down the hall. I heard my father's voice boom down the hallway. Get the hell out of my house, both of you, now! Drew's voice muffled, trying to explain. My father shut him down immediately. I don't want to hear it. You have 10 minutes to get your things and get out. If you're here in 11 minutes, I'm calling the police. My mother sobbed into her hands beside me. Her whole body shook with it. I sat next to her, numb. I'm sorry, Mom. She looked up at me with streaming eyes. You're sorry? You have nothing to be sorry for. Nothing. We heard footsteps running down the stairs. The front door opened, then slammed shut hard enough to rattle the windows. My father returned, his face red, jaw tight. He pulled me into a fierce hug. We're going to get through this, Magnus, he said quietly, as a family. But Drew, he pulled back, shook his head. I don't know if I can forgive him for this. I don't know if I want to. I didn't sleep that night. Couldn't even try. I sat in my parents' living room with my laptop, making lists, wedding expenses, every receipt I could pull from my email, every charge on my credit card, the venue, the catering, the photographer, the flowers, all of it. $45,000, itemized down to the centerpieces. I made a list of attorneys, family law specialists in the city. I pulled ratings, read reviews, cross-referenced recommendations. Then I made the longest list. Every single person who'd been at that wedding. Every guest who'd celebrated us, who'd given gifts, who'd toasted our future. They all deserved to know the truth. By the time dawn broke on Sunday morning, I had a plan. A comprehensive, methodical battle plan. Steve found me on the couch around 7. I heard him come downstairs, heard him stop when he saw me. Bloodshot eyes, laptop open, 3 empty coffee mugs on the table. Magnus, what happened? I saw Drew and Angelica leave in the middle of the night. I told him everything. Watched his face go through the same progression my parents had. Shock, disbelief, fury. Holy shit, he breathed when I finished. What are you going to do? I met his eyes. I'm going to war. And I'm going to win. Monday morning, I should have been boarding a flight to Bali. Instead, I called the airline and canceled everything. $8,000 in non-refundable expenses, gone. I didn't hesitate, didn't even flinch. Then I called Thomas Whitlock's office. His secretary tried to schedule me out 2 weeks. This is urgent, I said. My wife cheated on me with my brother on our wedding night. I need an annulment and I want to pursue fraud charges. I can be there this afternoon." She put me on hold, came back 30 seconds later. "Mr. Whitlock can see you at 2 o'clock. I spent the morning building my case, screenshots of every text conversation Angelica and I had ever had, downloaded our entire message history, months of "I love you" and "I can't wait to marry you" while she was sleeping with Drew. Bank statements showing every wedding payment I'd made. Then I hit the shared cloud storage, the account we'd set up for wedding planning, where we'd stored contracts and receipts and photos. And that's where I found gold. Messages between Angelica and Claire Roberts, her best friend, her confidant. Messages dating back 7 months where Angelica talked about having feelings for both Magnus and Drew, where she asked Claire if it was normal to love 2 people at once, where she wondered if she was making a mistake getting engaged to me. 7 months. The affair had started before I even proposed. My phone rang. Angelica's name lit up the screen. I let it go to voicemail. It rang again and again. On the 4th call, I answered. "Magnus, please, we need to talk." "We don't need to do anything," I said, cutting her off. "My attorney will be in touch about the annulment." "Annulment? We're married. You can't just—" "I can, and I will. This marriage is void. It was based on your lies. I made a mistake. Can't you forgive me?" The word mistake hit something in me, something cold and sharp. "No," I said flatly. "And here's what's going to happen. I'm going to get back every penny I spent on that wedding. I'm going to make sure everyone we know understands exactly what you did. And I'm going to make certain you and Drew regret this for the rest of your lives. You can't. You're being cruel." I laughed. Actually laughed. "I'm being cruel? You fucked my brother on our wedding night after a 6-month affair and I'm the cruel one? No, Angelica. I'm being just." "There's a difference." I hung up. That afternoon, I sat across from Thomas Whitlock in his downtown office. Mahogany desk, law degrees on the wall, the kind of place that charges $400 an hour and earns every cent. He'd reviewed everything I'd sent him, the screenshots, the bank statements, the cloud messages. Now he leaned back in his chair, fingers steepled. "The annulment is straightforward," he said. "Non-consummation, plus the circumstances. You discovered her with your brother on the wedding night itself. Any judge will grant it. Good. The fraud claim is viable too. She entered the marriage while actively maintaining a relationship with someone else. That speaks directly to her intent, her state of mind when she said those vows." I nodded. "What else?" Thomas smiled slightly. "Here's the nuclear option. We sue both her and your brother for intentional infliction of emotional distress. It's a tort claim. We'd argue that their coordinated affair, particularly their choice to consummate it on your wedding night in your parents' home, was so outrageous and extreme that it goes beyond all possible bounds of decency. Can we win? With your evidence? Yes, I'd estimate significant damages, 6 figures potentially. Your brother's involvement makes it worse from a jury perspective. No one sympathizes with a man who betrays his brother on his wedding night. 6 figures. The number settled into my chest like a weight. "File everything," I said. "Annulment, fraud, emotional distress. Hit them with all of it. This will be expensive. I don't care. I want them buried." By Wednesday, they'd both been served. My phone exploded. Calls from Drew, 14 in the first hour. Calls from Angelica, her parents, numbers I didn't recognize, and one call from a name I hadn't expected. Marianne Taylor, Drew's girlfriend. I called her back. "Marianne? Magnus." Her voice was tight. "I think we need to talk." "You deserve to know the truth," I said, and told her everything. The 6-month affair, the wedding night, all of it. She was silent for a long moment. Then, "I had no idea. We've been together for 2 years. He told me he was staying at your parents' house to help clean up after the wedding." "I'm sorry you're finding out this way." "I'm not," she said, and I heard steel in her voice. "Thank you for telling me. And Magnus? Destroy him. He deserves it." She broke up with Drew that same day. I learned later she'd told all their mutual friends exactly why. Thursday evening, my phone rang again. "Aunt Diane." "Magnus, sweetheart, we need to talk about this litigation." I closed my eyes. "What about it?" "Drew made a mistake, but he's family. Don't you think you're taking this too far?" "No," I said simply. "He stopped being family when he did what he did." "But litigation? Isn't that extreme? What's extreme is betraying your brother with his wife on his wedding night. My response is proportional. She sighed. Your father isn't speaking to Drew either. Your poor mother is devastated. This is tearing the family apart. Drew tore the family apart. I'm just making sure he pays for it. He's still your brother. No, I said, and my voice went flat. He's not. I hung up before she could argue further. By the end of that first week, I'd drafted the email, carefully worded, factual, no melodrama, no embellishment, just the truth. Dear friends and family, I'm writing to inform you that my marriage to Angelica Parker has been annulled. On our wedding night, I discovered Angelica in an ongoing affair with my brother Drew, which had been occurring for 6 months prior to our wedding. I apologize for any gifts you may have given, and I'm happy to return them or donate them to charity as you prefer. Thank you for your support during this difficult time. Magnus, I hit send to every single wedding guest, 217 people. The responses started within minutes. Shock, outrage, support. Message after message flooded my inbox. I can't believe this. I'm so sorry, Magnus. What kind of person does that? You deserve so much better. Several of Angelica's own relatives reached out. Her cousin, her grandmother, people apologizing for her behavior like they were somehow responsible. Then came the message from Adam Jensen, Angelica's uncle. Magnus, I warned her mother she was making a mistake rushing into this marriage. I told her Angelica wasn't ready, that something felt off. I'm sorry she proved me right in the worst possible way. You have my full support. I saved that one. Forwarded it to Thomas, evidence that even her own family saw the red flags. Drew tried twice to meet with me that week. The first time, he showed up at my office. Security called, asked if I wanted him let up. I said no. The second time, he waited by my car in the parking garage. I saw him from 50 feet away, turned around, and went back inside, called building security. They escorted him out. He sent emails, long, rambling things. I didn't read them, just forwarded them straight to Thomas. Then Drew tried using Mom. She called me Thursday evening. Drew wants to talk to you. He asked me to set up a meeting. What did you tell him? I told him no. Her voice cracked. I told him I'm ashamed of what he did, that I don't know how to look at him the same way. My throat tightened. Thanks, Mom. He's my son, Magnus. But what he did? It's unforgivable. I'm not going to help him avoid the consequences. Angelica's approach was different. First came the flowers. Roses delivered to my office with a card. I'm so sorry. Please let me explain. I had them donated to a nursing home. Then came the texts, long apologetic paragraphs about how much she loved me, how she'd made a terrible mistake, how she wanted to make things right. I didn't respond. When contrition didn't work, she switched tactics. The messages turned angry. You're vindictive. You're cruel. You're destroying lives over one mistake. Still didn't respond. Finally, she got desperate. Magnus, I'm pregnant. We need to talk about this. I forwarded that one to Thomas immediately. He called back an hour later. I'm subpoenaing her medical records. She's lying? Probably, but we need proof. 2 days later, he had it. Not pregnant. Never was. Her attorney is furious, Thomas said, and I could hear the satisfaction in his voice. She just destroyed any credibility she had left. Her own lawyer doesn't trust her now. Good. Let her drown in her own lies. 2 weeks after the wedding, I started seeing Dr. Gabriel Nguyen. I'd never been to therapy before, didn't know what to expect, but I knew I couldn't let this consume me, couldn't let the anger turn me into someone I didn't recognize. Dr. Nguyen was maybe 50, calm and thoughtful. He didn't waste time with small talk. Tell me what happened. I did. All of it. He listened without interrupting. Then, what do you want from our sessions? I want to process this without letting it destroy me. I want to make sure I'm handling this the right way. The legal action you're taking, do you feel it's justified? Yes. Why? Because they need to face consequences. Real ones. Not just an apology and moving on like nothing happened. He nodded slowly. Revenge is healthy when it's about justice. You're not lashing out blindly. You're using the legal system to hold them accountable. That's different. Sometimes I worry I'm going too far. Are you doing anything illegal? No. Anything unethical? No. I'm just making them face consequences. Then you're not going too far. You're refusing to be a victim. There's power in that. I left that first session feeling lighter than I had in weeks. Work became my refuge. I threw myself into a major project delivery. Enterprise software implementation worth $3 million to the company. Normally, it would take 6 weeks. I had it done in 4. My boss, Rachel Porter, called me into her office. "Magnus, this is exceptional work, especially given what you're dealing with personally." "Work helps," I said simply. "I want you to know we're here if you need anything. Time off, flexibility, whatever you need." "I appreciate that. But honestly, staying busy is exactly what I need right now." She smiled. "Then keep doing what you're doing. You're crushing it." 2 months after that nightmare wedding night, I sat across from Dr. Nguyen in his office. The question hanging between us was one I'd been wrestling with privately. Was I pursuing justice, or had this become something uglier? "Sometimes I wonder if I'm going too far," I admitted. "The lawsuits, the exposure, all of it. Am I just being vindictive?" Dr. Nguyen leaned back in his chair. "Let me ask you something, Magnus. Are you doing anything illegal?" "No." "Anything unethical?" "No. I'm using the legal system exactly as it's designed to be used." "Then what makes you think you're going too far?" I paused. "Because part of me enjoys watching them suffer." "Of course you do," he said it matter-of-factly. "They hurt you in one of the worst ways possible. Wanting them to face consequences for that isn't vindictive. It's human. Revenge is healthy when it's about justice, Magnus. You're not lashing out blindly. You're holding them accountable through proper legal channels. That's the difference between revenge and retaliation. So, you don't think I should back off? I think you're refusing to be a victim. There's real power in that. Don't second-guess your approach just because other people are uncomfortable with you standing up for yourself." His words settled something in me. I wasn't the bad guy here. I was just the one who refused to roll over. 3 months after the wedding, my phone rang while I was in a project meeting. Thomas's name on the screen. I excused myself and took it in the hallway. "They want to settle." I leaned against the wall. "Both of them?" "Both attorneys reached out this morning. The emotional distress claim has them worried. Drew's attorney thinks a jury would crucify him. Brother betraying brother on his wedding night plays as badly as you'd expect. And Angelica's attorney is concerned about the fraud allegations affecting her beyond just this case." "Her reputation, you mean? Her professional reputation, her social standing, all of it. She's a lawyer herself. This kind of thing gets around." "What are they offering?" "Full return of your wedding expenses. $45,000. They each pay their own legal fees. They drop any claims to marital property. And they both sign non-disparagement agreements, preventing them from publicly criticizing you." I considered it. Getting my money back, ending this cleanly, moving on with my life. It would be the reasonable thing to do. But I didn't feel reasonable. "Counter," I said. "With what?" $45,000 for wedding expenses, plus $100,000 in emotional distress damages, split between them however they want to work it out. Total demand is $145,000, non-negotiable. Thomas was quiet for a moment. "That's aggressive, Magnus." "They were aggressive when they betrayed me for 6 months. Send it." 2 weeks later, Thomas called again. They accepted. I actually had to sit down. "All of it?" "Every penny. Drew's liquidating his 401k to come up with his share. Angelica's borrowing from her parents and taking out a personal loan." "Good. The paperwork should be finalized within a week. You'll have your money by the end of the month." When the wire transfer hit my account, $145,000, I stared at the number on my screen and waited for guilt to surface. It didn't come. This was consequence. This was justice. They'd stolen 6 months of my life, destroyed the future I'd planned, humiliated me in front of everyone I knew, and now they were paying for it in the most tangible way possible. But even as I looked at that number, I knew something with absolute clarity. The money wasn't enough. I wanted them to lose everything else too. Their careers, their reputations, their futures. I wanted the world to know exactly who Drew and Angelica were, and I wanted them to carry the weight of their choices for the rest of their lives. The legal battle was won. But the war? That was just getting started. 4 months after the wedding night, I met someone who changed everything. Her name was Juliet Sanders. She was a consultant who'd been brought in to work on a digital transformation project with my team. 31, sharp as hell, and she had this way of cutting through corporate nonsense that I immediately respected. We started having coffee breaks together, just shop talk at first, Project timelines, stakeholder management, the usual. But those coffee breaks turned into lunches, and those lunches eventually became dinners outside the office. By the third date, I knew I had to tell her. She needed to know what she was getting into before this went any further. We were at a quiet Italian place downtown. She'd just finished telling me a funny story about her last consulting gig when I set down my fork. "I need to tell you something," I said, "about why I'm available." She nodded, her expression open. "Okay." So I told her. Everything. The wedding night. Walking down that hallway. Hearing Angelica in Drew's room. The 6-month affair. The annulment. The lawsuit. The settlement. I didn't sugarcoat any of it, and I didn't try to make myself look like some kind of hero. I just laid out the facts. She listened without interrupting once. When I finished, she was quiet for a long moment. "That's the most horrible thing I've ever heard," she finally said. "But the way you handled it? That takes real strength, Magnus. A lot of people would have just fallen apart. I almost did. But you didn't." She reached across the table and took my hand. "You fought back. That says everything about who you are, everything that matters to me anyway." I believed her. And that was new. We took things slowly after that. Neither of us rushed it. But within 2 months, I knew Juliet was different from Angelica in every way that counted. She was real, authentic. When she said something, I could trust it was true. She didn't play games or test me or create drama for attention. She was just honest, supportive, present. It sounds simple, but after what I'd been through, simple felt like a revelation. Remember when you believed someone loved you and then discovered they'd been lying the whole time? That kind of betrayal makes you question everything. Every "I love you" becomes suspect. Every kind gesture feels like it might be manipulation. But Juliet was patient with that. She didn't push. She just showed up consistently and let her actions prove what her words promised. 6 months into our relationship, she told me she loved me. We were at her apartment, just watching a movie on the couch. She said it during a commercial break, casual and certain. "I love you, Magnus." And I believed her, completely. Because she'd earned that belief. Through 6 months of honesty, of showing me who she really was, of not playing the games that Angelica had made into an art form. For the first time since that wedding night, I felt like my personal life was stabilizing. Like maybe I could actually build something real with someone who genuinely cared about me. Then Drew decided to blow it all up again. 8 months after the wedding night, Thomas called me at work. Drew filed a countersuit. I closed my office door. For what? Defamation. He's claiming you damaged his reputation by telling people about the affair. The email to wedding guests, the conversations with family members, he's arguing all of it cost him professional opportunities. That's insane. I told people the truth. I know. Truth is an absolute defense to defamation. He doesn't have a case. So what's his game? Thomas sighed. He wants to drag this out, make it expensive for you, force another settlement. My guess is his attorney is working on contingency and convinced him they could squeeze more money out of you. He's not getting a penny. Taking this to trial could cost you significantly. Another year of litigation, maybe more. Legal fees will add up. I don't care. My jaw tightened. Deny everything. If we have to go to trial, we go to trial. I'm not giving him anything. Not $1. Not ever. Understood. I'll file our response this week. I hung up and stared at my desk. Drew was still trying to make himself the victim, still trying to avoid consequences, still refusing to accept that his choices had destroyed his own life. Fine. If he wanted to keep fighting, I'd keep destroying him. But this time, I wouldn't stop until there was nothing left. He doesn't have a case, Thomas said again, trying to reassure me. Truth is an absolute defense to defamation. You told people what actually happened. That's not defamation. That's just facts. So why is he doing this? My best guess? His attorney is working on contingency. They're hoping to drag this out, make it expensive enough that you'll offer another settlement just to make it go away. It's a pressure tactic. I felt my jaw clench. Deny everything. If we have to take this to trial, we take it to trial. Magnus, that could take another full year, maybe longer, and the legal fees will add up fast. We could be talking tens of thousands. I don't care what it costs. My voice came out flat and cold. I'm not giving him a penny, not $1. He already got the settlement. That's all he's ever getting from me. Thomas was quiet for a second. Understood. I'll file our response this week." I hung up and sat there, staring at my computer screen without seeing it. Drew was still trying to play the victim, still trying to manipulate the situation, still refusing to accept that he'd destroyed his own life with his own choices. Fine. If he wanted to keep this fight going, I'd finish what I started. 2 weeks later, I got a call I wasn't expecting. Drew's number popped up on my phone, one I hadn't blocked yet because I'd been forwarding his emails to Thomas. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. "What? You cost me my job!" Drew's voice was shaking with fury. "You happy now? You got me fired!" I leaned back in my chair. "I didn't cost you anything, Drew. You did this to yourself." "Bullshit. My company saw the lawsuit, saw all the details you put in there. The details you made necessary by filing a defamation suit. You brought this back into the spotlight, not me. They fired me for a morality clause. Conduct unbecoming of company values. I'm losing $95,000 a year because of you." "No," I said calmly. "You're losing $95,000 a year because you fucked my fiancée for 6 months and then had sex with her on my wedding night. That's on you." "I'm gonna lose my house," his voice cracked. "I can't make mortgage payments without that salary." "You should have thought about that before you betrayed me." There was a pause. Then Drew's voice changed, got smaller, desperate. "Magnus, please, I'm begging you. Can't we figure something out? I'm your brother." I laughed. It came out harsh and bitter. "You were my brother. Past tense. Now you're just a mistake I'm correcting." "What the hell does that mean?" "It means lose the house, Drew. Lose everything. And I want you to remember every single day that your choices led to this. Every morning when you wake up and realize what you don't have anymore, I want you to know you did this to yourself. You're a bastard." I hung up. Then I blocked his number permanently. My hands were steady, my conscience was clear. A week later, I heard through Steve that Angelica had lost her job too. She'd been a junior associate at a mid-sized law firm downtown. According to Steve, who'd heard it from a mutual acquaintance, the firm had quietly let her go once the details of the annulment became public knowledge in the legal community. Law firms care about reputation. They care about integrity. And Angelica had proven she had neither. She'd moved back in with her parents and was working retail while she tried to find another legal position. But word travels fast in legal circles, especially in a city this size. Everyone knew what she'd done. Nobody wanted to hire someone who'd lied to her husband for 6 months and slept with his brother on her wedding night. I didn't feel sorry for her, not even a little. She'd made her choices. Now she was living with them. 3 weeks after Drew got fired, my phone rang with a number I hadn't seen in months. Angelica's mother. I almost didn't answer, but I picked up. "Magnus." Her voice was thick with tears. "Please, I'm begging you. You have to forgive Angelica." I closed my eyes. "Mrs. Parker, she's destroyed. She's depressed. She's barely eating. She lost her career. She lost everything. Can't you find it in your heart to forgive her?" I took a slow breath. "Mrs. Parker, your daughter didn't just cheat on me. She planned a life with me while betraying me for 6 months. She walked down an aisle, said vows in front of God and everyone we know, and then went upstairs and had sex with my brother on what should have been the most sacred night of our lives together. She made a mistake. She made deliberate choices," I said quietly, "over and over again, for half a year. I'm sorry she's suffering. I really am. But she created these consequences herself. She's my daughter." Her voice broke completely. "And I was your son-in-law for exactly 6 hours. My throat tightened. "I know you love her. I understand that's what mothers do. But I can't forgive this. I won't." She cried for another minute, then hung up without saying goodbye. I sat there in the silence, feeling nothing at all. The trial date got set for 14 months after the wedding night. 1 week before we were supposed to go to court, Thomas called with an update that made me smile for the first time in days. Drew's attorney just withdrew from the case, cited non-payment of fees. He can't afford his lawyer anymore? Not without that pharmaceutical salary. And no attorney's going to take this case pro bono. It's a loser from the start. So what happens now? He'll either find new representation, which seems unlikely given his financial situation, or he'll try to represent himself. Drew tried to represent himself. Thomas filed a motion for summary judgment 2 days later, arguing that Drew's defamation claim had no legal basis. The motion laid it out clearly. Truth is an absolute defense to defamation, and Magnus Harris only told people truthful facts about an affair that actually happened. The judge granted the motion. Drew's case got dismissed with prejudice, meaning he couldn't refile the same claim ever again. And then the judge did something beautiful. He ordered Drew to pay my legal fees for defending against the frivolous lawsuit, $30,000. Drew didn't have $30,000. Hell, Drew barely had $3,000 at that point. 3 months later, Drew filed for bankruptcy. The house went into foreclosure. The car got repossessed. Whatever savings he'd managed to keep after the original settlement disappeared to creditors. I heard through my cousin Steve that Drew was living in a one-bedroom apartment on the bad side of town, working at a vitamin shop for $12 an hour. 32 years old and starting over from nothing. Steve also mentioned Drew hadn't dated anyone since Mary Ann left him. Nobody wanted a man who'd betray his own brother. I didn't celebrate when I heard about the bankruptcy. I didn't feel triumphant or vindicated. I just felt done. Drew had destroyed himself. Angelica had destroyed herself. I'd simply made sure the destruction was complete and public and permanent. Justice. That's all it was. 6 months later, on a Saturday evening in November, I took Juliet to the park where we'd had our first real conversation outside of work. The leaves were turning gold and red, falling in slow spirals around the bench where we'd sat that first night. I remembered how nervous I'd been, telling her about Angelica and Drew, how certain I'd been that she'd walk away once she knew the whole ugly story. She'd stayed. She'd seen the worst parts of my life and stayed anyway. We sat on that same bench now, watching the sunset paint the sky orange and purple. Juliet's hand was warm in mine. "I love you," I said. The words came easy now, natural. She smiled. "I love you too." I reached into my jacket pocket and pulled out the small velvet box. Her eyes widened. "Juliet?" My heart hammered. "Will you marry me?" She didn't hesitate, didn't ask for time to think or need to process. "Yes," she said, and her smile was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. "Yes, absolutely yes." I slipped the ring onto her finger, and she kissed me while the autumn leaves fell around us like confetti. This was what love was supposed to feel like. Real, honest, safe, no lies, no betrayal, just two people choosing each other over and over again. The ceremony took place on the exact date that would have been my first anniversary with Angelica. I'd chosen it deliberately. Why let her keep that date? Why let that calendar square stay marked with her betrayal forever? No, I was taking it back, making it mean something real. Juliet and I got married in my parents' backyard on a bright June afternoon. 30 people total. Immediate family, close friends, people who'd stood by me when my life imploded. No drama, no secrets, no one hiding affairs or planning betrayals. Just love. Simple, honest, real. When Juliet walked toward me in her simple white dress, I didn't see her and wonder if she was lying. I didn't question her vows. I didn't stand there worrying that everything beautiful was secretly rotting underneath. I just saw the woman I loved, choosing me, building a life with me. The ceremony lasted 20 minutes. We said our vows, words we'd written ourselves, words that meant something because they were true. My father officiated. My mother cried happy tears. Drew wasn't there. Nobody even suggested inviting him. When I kissed Juliet as my wife, I felt nothing but joy. Pure, uncomplicated joy. That's what a wedding's supposed to feel like. 2 years have passed since that nightmare wedding night with Angelica. I'm 35 now, director at the tech firm. Got promoted 8 months ago. The job's demanding, but I'm good at it. Financial stability isn't something I worry about anymore. Juliet and I have been married for a year. We have a 3-month-old daughter named Eleanor. Every single time I look at her, this tiny person with Juliet's eyes and my stubborn chin, I feel grateful. Grateful that Angelica betrayed me when she did. If she hadn't, I'd be married to someone who didn't truly love me. Someone who'd have kept cheating, kept lying, probably for years. Maybe we'd have had kids by now, and then the divorce would have been infinitely messier. Custody battles. Child support. Years of co-parenting with someone who'd proven herself fundamentally dishonest. Instead, Angelica's betrayal revealed her true character early, before I'd wasted decades, before innocent children got dragged into a broken marriage. I dodged a bullet. More than that, I found the life I was actually meant to live. I don't think about Angelica or Drew often anymore, maybe once every few months. And when I do, I feel nothing. Not anger, not hurt, not even satisfaction. Just nothing. They're irrelevant. Strangers who taught me lessons and then disappeared from my life. But I keep tabs, not obsessively, just enough to know how their lives turned out. Drew never recovered professionally. The bankruptcy destroyed his credit, and the pharmaceutical industry's smaller than people think. Word spread about what he'd done. Sales is all about relationships and trust, and nobody trusts a man who betrays his own brother. He's 44 now, managing a vitamin shop, $12 an hour, living paycheck to paycheck in a one-bedroom apartment. No career, no family, no respect. My parents talk to him maybe twice a year. Obligatory birthday calls. But the relationship they had with him before? That's dead. You can't come back from what he did. Angelica found work eventually. Some small personal injury firm that handles slip-and-fall cases and fender benders. Nothing like the corporate law career she'd planned. The legal community in our city knows what happened. Lawyers talk. Reputations matter. She's still single. I know because Steve checked her social media once out of curiosity. Lots of forced smiles. Lots of generic inspirational quotes about healing and growth and becoming your best self. The kind of posts people make when they're trying to convince everyone, including themselves, that they're doing fine. She's not doing fine. She's living with consequences. Right now, I'm sitting in our living room, holding Eleanor while Juliet makes dinner in the kitchen. The house smells like garlic and herbs. Eleanor's making those little baby sounds, her tiny hand wrapped around my finger. This is my life, real, earned, built on honesty. I think about that hallway sometimes, standing there in the dark, hearing my wife moaning in my brother's room. That moment when my entire future shattered. And I realize now, it shattered so the real future could take its place. If Angelica had been faithful, I'd be living a lie. I'd have spent years, maybe decades, with someone who didn't truly love me. I'd never have met Juliet. Eleanor wouldn't exist. This life, the one I have right now, is infinitely better than anything I would have had with Angelica. Their betrayal cleared the path, showed me who they really were, gave me the chance to find something genuine. People ask sometimes if I regret how hard I went after them, if I think I should have been more forgiving. No, not for a second. They didn't show me mercy when they betrayed me for 6 months. They didn't show me grace when they chose my wedding night to get caught. I protected myself. I demanded justice. I refused to be the guy who just takes the hit and moves on quietly while his betrayers face zero consequences. And it worked. Drew and Angelica wake up every morning carrying their ruined reputations, working jobs beneath their abilities, living in the wreckage of the lives they destroyed themselves. I wake up next to Juliet, in the house we bought together, with our daughter sleeping in the nursery down the hall. That's justice. And you know what? It feels exactly as satisfying as I knew it would. I believe stories such as this find us for a reason. If this one touches you, please subscribe. I share a new one every day. In the meantime, there are 2 stories on the screen that are even better.